Alright, welcome back for part 3, the final installment of lesson 21.1. We're going to be going over another word problem. It says a rectangular mural, so another rectangle. It has the dimensions of x plus 10 and x plus 3. If the mural has an area, of 60, what is the length and width? So again, I'm going to set up an equation where area is equal to my length times width. My area was 60, and my length would be x plus 10, x plus 3. These could be interchangeable, by the way. So if I FOILed this out, that would be x squared, 3x, inners would be 10x. My last would be positive 30. So that would be x squared plus 13x plus 30 equals 60. Now, of course, I want to put it in standard form, right? So I'm going to make one side equal to 0. 60, let's move you over here. What's the opposite of a positive 60? Negative 60. So now one side is equal to 0, x squared plus 13x minus 30. Go ahead and list out your factors. So there's my a, my b value, which is 13, my c value, which is negative 30. And let's list out our factors for 30. One of them does have to be negative, so I'm going to make these guys negative and see which ones add to be 13. Go ahead and try those out. Which one would it be? So it would be this one, right? Because 15 take away 2 is 13. So that would be x minus 2 and x plus 15 equals 0. Again, I'll set both x minus 2 equals 0 and x plus 15 equal to 0 and solve each one out. And that would be x equals positive 2 and x equals a negative, see if I can put that in there, negative 15. Now in the real world, is there any such thing as negative numbers? No, right? So even though these are both answers, we're not going to use this one. We're going to use the positive result. And I'm going to use this to figure out what the dimensions would be. So if that's 2 plus 3, and if that is 2 plus 10, that means my length and my width would be 12 by 5. Awesome. Sorry about that 5 not looking like a 5, but it is a 5. Yes, it is, because 2 plus 3 is 5, and 2 plus 10 is 12. All right, moving right along, we have finally reached our checkpoint. So again, we're going to take some time to factor, and then in the next ones, we're going to take some time to solve. Okay, so factoring first, we're going to list out our a, b, and c value for both. Why not? And we're going to list out, okay, our factors for c for 24. And see which ones would add. There's a bunch of factors for 24. Just so you're aware, I'm sure you are. Which ones add to be 11 though? And that would be 3 times 8, right? So that's x plus 3 and x plus 8. For this one, again, I'm going to write down my c and b value, my 81 and my negative 18, and see what factors there are for 81. So there's 1 times 81, there's 9 times 9. Of course, I can list my negatives as well. Negative 1 times negative 81, negative 9 times negative 9, and see which ones add to get me negative 18. which would be these right here, right? So that'd be x minus 9 and x minus 9. Cool. Let's go on to the next two and your homework assignment. So here it says solve by factoring. So again, we're going to factor to solve. So again, I'm going to identify my A, B, and C. My A, B, and C. And I'm going to list out my factors for C, which is 50, B, which is negative 15, and list out my factors. 1 times 50, 2 times 25, what else comes to mind? 5 times 10. And as I'm thinking about it, well, these would multiply to get me positive 50. Neither of these would result in a negative 15. So I'm going to make them both negative and see which ones work out to add to be a negative 15. And those would be which ones? This one, right? So that would be x minus 5 and x minus 10 equals 0. Because I factored, I have to also solve this equation. Means I have to set each of these factors equal to 0. Notice on the last ones we did not do that because it did not ask us to solve by factoring. They just asked us to factor. So on this one, what's the opposite of a minus 5? Positive 5, right? Opposite of a minus 10? Positive 10, right? So that would be x equals a positive 5. X equals a positive 10. Now I know what you're thinking. I got a positive result. That's awesome. But what about on the last ones where I got like a negative answer? Well, it's okay because all we had to do was factor. So that's okay. It's not a real world problem. Here, again, we got positive results, so that's fine too. Let's go ahead and factor the last one. Again, writing our factors for C, which was negative 15, and our factor and see what adds to get us negative 2. So again, 1 times 15, 3 times 5, but as you can see, I have to have it multiply to be a negative 15, so I'm going to make one of these negative and see which one of these two would add or combine to be negative 2. Which would be this factor, right? So that would be x plus 3 and x minus 5, which because they asked us to solve, I have to set each one of these factors equal to 0 and solve. So what's the opposite of a positive 3? Negative 3, right? So that would be 0 take away 3, which is negative 3, right? And then last but not least, opposite of a negative 5 is a positive 5. That cancels out, and I have x equals what? 0 plus 5. Positive 5, right? Alright, so we just went through the whole lesson in the last 3 parts. If you need to review any part, if you need to pause, rewatch, review, please do so. If you need additional support, please come in. So please come into the center if you do need more support. Ask any of our staff members, but this is the homework that you will have to do, 21.1. It'll be out of the textbook, numbers 3 through 16 all, number 18 and number 20. Remember, it does count towards that 15 points towards homework. So this is one of the several assignments you'll have to do, so make sure that you get the help that you need by coming into the center if you need to. Also, I hope these series of videos were helpful for lesson 21.1. See us back here for 21.2, which is next.